All right, welcome everyone to the deep dive. Today we're laser focused. We're going deep on one thing and one thing only, and that is helping you absolutely crush the ABCTE PTK exam.
That's right. We've done a ton of research. We've got all kinds of resources on how to be an effective teacher, and we're going to break them down for you so you can walk into that exam room with confidence.
Basically, we want you to leave this deep dive feeling like you've got the tools and the strategy to ace this thing. But first, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly are we talking about when we say the ABCTE PTK exam?
Well, the PTK exam, it's all about making sure you've got a good grasp on the fundamentals of teaching.
Okay, so fundamentals.
Right, so we're talking about things like how to actually teach your lessons effectively. Those are your instructional strategies.
Right, got it.
Then there's the whole classroom management piece, creating a learning environment where students can actually, well, learn.
Yeah, so important.
And of course, you need to know how to assess whether your students are actually learning.
Right, and that's student assessment.
Exactly. So it's not just about knowing the subject you want to teach. It's about understanding the entire process of being an effective teacher.
So how does the exam actually test you on all of this? What should people expect when they sit down to take it?
So there are two main parts to the exam.
Okay.
First up, you've got your multiple choice questions. These test your knowledge of those best teaching practices.
All right, makes sense.
And then you've got the essay portion.
Yeah.
And this is where you get to really show that you can take those practices and apply them to real-world situations.
Interesting. So it's kind of like the multiple choice is testing your book smarts, and the essay is testing your street smarts, so to speak.
Yeah, you can think about it that way. The multiple choice is making sure you know the concepts, the theories, and then the essay, that's where they see how you think, how you reason through things as a teacher.
Makes sense. So for our listeners out there, why is this exam so important? What kind of doors does passing this exam open for them?
This exam is a really big deal because if you pass, you get your ABCTE certification.
Right.
And that certification, that can open doors to teaching jobs in a lot of different states.
Wow, so it's really a stepping stone, like a really crucial step towards your dream career.
Absolutely. It's like the key that unlocks those teaching opportunities you've been working towards.
Perfect. So now that we know what we're dealing with, let's get into the meat of it. How do you actually prepare for this thing? What's step one?
Step one is all about knowing your enemy. I mean, knowing the exam inside and out.
Okay.
So you need to get your hands on that ABCTE PTK study guide.
Right. Got to start with the official stuff.
But even more important, you need to understand the exam blueprint.
The blueprint.
Yeah, think of the blueprint as your secret weapon. It tells you exactly what's going to be on the exam and how much each topic is worth.
So it's not just a list of topics, it's a strategy guide.
Exactly. It's telling you where to focus your energy so you can spend your study time on the things that matter most. You wouldn't want to waste a bunch of time studying something that's only going to be like 2 questions on the exam, right?
Right. Totally. Makes sense. So beyond the topics, what else should we be aware of in terms of how the exam is structured?
Yeah, you want to think about those multiple choice questions. Are they mostly just asking you to remember definitions? Or are they going to ask you to really analyze situations and apply your knowledge?
Good point.
And with the essay, remember, that's all about showing you can put theory into practice. They want to see you think like a teacher, make decisions, solve problems.
So it's not enough to just know the theory?
No, you have to show them that you can actually use it.
Okay, so step one, understand the exam. Step two.
Step 2 is all about gathering your study materials. You need to arm yourself with the right resources.
Okay, so where do we start? What are the essential resources?
First things first, go straight to the source. Get those official ABCTE study guides and practice tests. They're designed to reflect exactly what you're going to see on the actual exam.
Right, the official stuff is always a good starting point.
And then look into some online courses. There are some great ones out there specifically designed for the PTK exam.
Right.
Find one that not only covers the content, but also gives you strategies for taking the exam itself.
Okay, so make sure it's not just about the content, but also about test-taking strategies.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of connecting with other people who are studying for the exam.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Find some online forums, some study groups. You can share tips, ask questions, get support. It can be a huge help.
Definitely. Sometimes just talking through things with someone else can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And don't forget, there's a ton of free stuff out there. YouTube is a goldmine for tutorials. You can find podcasts, teacher blogs, all kinds of great resources.
Yeah, there's so much good information available these days.
And if you're someone who's always on the go, get some flashcards, download some apps, so you can study whenever you have a few minutes.
Perfect. So we've got our study plan, we've got our resources. What's next?
Step 3 is where we really dive into those key content areas.
All right, let's break those down. Remind us what the main areas are again.
So the first one is instructional strategies. This is all about how you're actually going to teach your lessons. We're talking about things like direct instruction, cooperative learning, differentiated instruction. You need to understand these different methods and when to use them.
Right, so it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. You need to have a whole toolbox of strategy.
Exactly. Then we have classroom management, which is all about creating a positive learning environment where students can thrive. You need to know how to manage behavior, keep students engaged, and create a respectful and supportive classroom culture.
Got it. So it's not just about teaching the content, it's about creating a space where learning can happen.
Right. And then, of course, there's student assessment. You need to know how to measure student learning. We're talking formative assessments, summative assessments, grading, and using data to make decisions about your teaching.
Okay, so it's a constant cycle of teaching, assessing, and adjusting.
Exactly. Yeah. And my bonus tip here is to try and find ways to apply these concepts in real life. Volunteer in a classroom, tutor some students, observe experienced teachers.
That's a great idea.
Getting hands-on experience will really help you solidify your understanding.
Absolutely. Okay, we've covered the content. Now, how do we make sure we can perform well on the actual exam?
That brings us to step 4, developing strong test-taking strategies.
Okay, so even if you know the material, you need to know how to take the test.
Exactly. One of the best things you can do is practice taking timed mock exams.
Okay, so get used to that time pressure.
Right. This will help you get familiar with the format, identify your strengths and weaknesses, and get comfortable working under pressure.
So what about specific strategies for those multiple choice questions? Any tips there?
Absolutely. When you're tackling those multiple choice questions, read each question carefully. Don't rush. Make sure you understand what they're asking.
Okay, pay attention to the wording.
Right. And before you even look at the answers, try to come up with your own answer based on what you know.
Interesting strategy.
Then go through the choices and eliminate any that are obviously wrong. That way, you're increasing your chances of picking the right answer.
Makes sense. That process of elimination can be so helpful. Now, what about the essay? Any advice for tackling that beast?
For the essay, organization is key. Take a few minutes to plan out your response before you start writing. Make sure you have a clear introduction, strong body paragraphs with evidence to support your points, and a solid conclusion.
So think of it like building a case. You need to present your argument clearly and back it up with evidence.
Exactly. And remember, use real-life examples. The graders want to see that you can connect the theory to actual classroom situations.
Right. Show them you can walk the walk. Okay, so we've got a study plan, we've got our resources, we've got our test-taking strategies. What's the final piece of the puzzle?
The final step is all about creating and sticking to a study schedule. This is step 5.
All right, so how do we make sure we stay on track?
Break your study time into manageable chunks. Don't try to cram everything in at once.
Right. Little and often is better than all at once.
Exactly. Use active study techniques. Don't just passively read your notes.
So things like flashcards, summaries, explaining concepts to others.
Exactly. And make sure you take breaks. Don't burn yourself out. Aim for consistency over cramming. Even 30 to 60 minutes a day, spread out over a few weeks, is going to be much more effective than trying to learn everything the night before.
That's great advice. So we've got a solid plan for preparation. Now, let's talk about some of the things that can trip people up. What are some common mistakes that test takers make?
One of the biggest mistakes people make is getting caught up in just memorizing the theory without really understanding how to apply it. Remember, the PTK exam, especially that essay, is all about showing you can think and act like a teacher in real-life situations.
Right, so don't just focus on the what, focus on the how.
Exactly. Another mistake is neglecting to practice writing essays. A lot of people just focus on the multiple choice and figure they'll wing the essay.
But that's a big mistake.
It is. You need to practice writing those essays under timed conditions so you can get comfortable with the format and make sure you can express your thoughts clearly and concisely.
Okay, so don't underestimate the importance of essay practice. What about things that can impact your performance on the actual test day?
Well, basic test day strategies are crucial. Make sure you get enough sleep the night before, eat a good breakfast, and arrive at the testing center early. These things might seem obvious, but they can really affect how you perform.
Right, you don't want to sabotage yourself before you even start.
Exactly. And finally, make sure you learn from your practice tests. Don't just look at the score. Analyze your mistakes. Figure out why you got certain questions wrong and focus on those areas in your studying.
So use those practice tests as a learning tool, not just an assessment.
Exactly. They're there to help you get better.
Wow, we've covered so much today. Any final words of encouragement for our listeners as they embark on their PTK journey?
You've got this. Believe in yourself, trust in the preparation you're doing, and remember, this exam is just one step on your path to becoming a teacher.
Right, keep your eyes on the prize.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Use positive affirmations, visualize yourself succeeding, and remember why you want to be a teacher.
great advice. So, to recap those key test day strategies,
Get a good night's sleep, eat a healthy breakfast, arrive at the testing center early, and manage your time wisely during the exam.
and remember, breathe.
Right, don't forget to breathe. This exam is important, but it's not the only thing that matters.
Exactly. It's just one step on a much longer journey.
And it's a journey that's going to be incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely. So, as you continue preparing for the ABCTE PTK exam, here's a final thought for you to ponder.
No?
Of those three core content areas, we talked about instructional strategies, classroom management, and student assessment. Which one do you think is going to require the most of your focus and why? Really think about that, and it might help you tailor your study plan even further.
That's a great point. It's all about figuring out where you need to spend the most time.
Exactly. Well, thanks for joining us today, everyone. We wish you the best of luck on your PTK exam and on your journey to becoming amazing teachers.
Best of luck, everyone.
See you next time.